Evening, everybody, and welcome to our Covered for COVID series, where we are also now including the quantum therapists who've united together to run Raising Humanity's Immunity to COVID, and that is in the broadest sense of the words. So in the immediate, obviously, raising immunity to specific COVID, and then the bigger picture. And what we're doing is we are holding the space and we're using the quantum devices, namely the SCIO, the Educta, and the QUEX. And remember that the quantum source is the pure source, it's straight. So it's not politically aligned or somebody's belief or desire or anything on a fake level. We're dealing directly with humanity, with the subconscious, and in fact, the superconscious, and doing what the subconscious wants right now. And that's what the quantum therapists are busy with. We're doing this twice weekly now to keep the humanity levels balanced and charged and clear of toxins, and also rebalancing the DNA and then building the immunity. So we're doing our best, and we're appreciating also the people that are working alongside us, who are also conscious beings, conscious energy workers as well, and just in the true space. All right, and in many instances, we're sitting back and we're watching the parody of events, we're watching the fakeness, we're watching the tremendous play out right now. I mean, it's probably akin to a bit of a circus in some instances. It's tremendous amount of chaos, and really bring it on, because the more chaos we have, the greater the end result is going to be in terms of a paradigm shift. So just referring to Fidget Capra, he's written many books on systems, quantum, interconnected, interdependent. So what I'm thinking and doing is basically directly impacting on every other human on the planet. So we can't get away, we can't run away. And that's why people like ourselves, people who are listening and coming in here, it's very vital that we hold the space and that we are balanced and that we can do the shift that we're doing. And I'm really honored also to be in the space, and to Professor Desiree Dubonnet for the inventor of these devices that we have, and our ability to track progress. First of all, to, in a non-biased, non-verbal way, measure and validate risk factors, root causes of humanity's immunity being low, etc., and the biggest space of things. And then we can also track performance on a weekly basis, which we are doing. And I'm going to share some of the information with you just so that we can see how we're moving. And we've been actually doing this since the end of March. So we're a group of people that have been very objectively moving through in a very valid and verified way, using devices that are registered with FDA and have been around for more than 25 years. There are about 37,000 of these devices worldwide. So, tried, trusted, and I must say we're dealing with, and I think you'll probably all feel it a little bit yourself as well, we're a little bit weary from this whole COVID onslaught. I would say 6 out of 7 people, according to Desiree Dubonnet, need their battery charged. They're flat. There's chronic fatigue. The adrenals are shut down almost. And the brain's foggy. There's lots of leaky gut. And so the whole ability of humanity actually to stand up and think clearly, make proper conscious choices in a non-fear-based way is all a little bit skewed at the moment, and not actually that possible. So our job is to detox, repair the DNA, all the genetic material, enable people to think clearly, nourish the cells, and so that we can make good decisions and live productively. Right now, there's this avalanche of and this unbelievable revelation of truth. I think anybody has to just put their cell phone on and have a look at what's literally shooting through minute by minute, second by second. And it's the truth now. We've got past the fake, information that didn't really have a source. And people are now referring to the sources of the information. So we've got into that realm. And so we've heard too many times about the effect of, let's just call it the term COVID and what's happening and the effect on the RNA and the DNA. And that is what disturbs me the most, because that is our blueprint. The DNA is our blueprint. And if that gets destroyed or decoded or uncoded or wound down, then, you know, we are kind of the ancestors of an endangered species. And, you know, we need to consider how, you know, the legacy that we're leaving our children and our children's children. So we definitely have to stand up. We definitely have to preserve our own DNA and the DNA of our children and our children's children, which is being severely attacked right now and destroyed. And how do I know? Because we see it on the devices. All right, we're seeing a huge increase in the amount of radiation toxicity. Huge levels that are, for example, 350 and they should be 100. And that's severe radiation toxicity, and radiation is going to damage the DNA. So it damages it, it breaks it off. And that means then every cell division thereafter has got a distorted piece of DNA. And similarly, any other toxins, GMO parasites, heavy metals, nuclear pieces like uranium and plutonium and that, they all lodge in the cells, they get into the cell, and then if the cell is flat, the battery is flat of the body, they stay in the cell. They can't even get removed and eliminated. Often the gallbladder is blocked, the liver is blocked, and the kidneys, the lungs, the skin, the gut, etc. And then the organs of elimination are blocked as well. So even if, let's say, the heavy metal or the toxin was removed out of the cell, very little chance of leaving the body because all the organs of detox are blocked. So we've got this really taped with our devices, and I'm really willing to share and do a live demo at some stage if any of you want me to do this, so that we can have a look and I'll show you exactly what we do. I can share a little bit now, which I'm going to do anyway, and just see what quantum medicine can do. And also now with COVID and people not really wanting to travel too much and be exposed or expose people, these devices work in the virtual space. It's called a subspace, and the subconscious is everywhere. It's called zero-based non-locality. That means that I can pick you up with the device. If you're in front of me, hooked up to the device, I can also pick you up if I'm in South Africa and you're in Los Angeles or you're in Australia. So the subconscious is everywhere and it works with the subconscious. So absolutely beautiful. It's really, quantum medicine is now taking over all too often. And this week, last week, the weeks before in particular, I'm getting people coming in. The one man particularly has been dealing with 15 specialists over the last 10 years. And still not really, not even not really, still very weak and not having shifted out of illness. So what we are able to do is shift people from illness to wellness. And that's really the objective here. Remove the cause of disease, identify it, remove it, identify the risk factors, measure them and validate them and see what gap needs to be closed, and then realign with quantum and with food state nutrients, and then adjustments to lifestyle and things like that, environment and so on. All doing this to preserve what? Mainly the DNA. If we've preserved the DNA, we've preserved the cell, we've preserved the tissue, we've preserved the organ, we've preserved the body. Mind, emotions, and spirit added into all of that. Okay, so it's a very exciting time for us. A very exciting time in history and in humanity's evolution. And I just want to say a little bit about genetic material. So there's an enormous amount of unbelievable, beneficial genetic material that has always been here, that comes from out of space, or manufactured right here, most possibly by beneficial bacteria, fungi, and yeasts and things, to shift evolution, to shift humanity. And this has been happening on an ongoing basis since time began. Some people got clever and worked out how to genetically modify this material. DNA encode, RNA encoded material, and just decided to fiddle with it. That's simply what's happened. And you've heard this many times now in all the recordings that are going out. If you haven't heard about it, please write in the chat, and we can certainly give you some of these recordings. So what I'm saying is it's actually very beneficial, these DNA, RNA fragments, to our evolution as humanity. So that's happening on an ongoing basis. The sun adapts to humanity's requirements in terms of evolution as well. So the intensity, the ultraviolet ray, the wavelength also shifts. And that wavelength is shifting humanity too. It's shifting the DNA on a constant basis. We are never static. So we are always in a position of perpetual harmonic renewal, and we need to just make sure that we're moving upwards as opposed to downwards. Okay, so the world as it is at the moment is, whatever reason, given us the opportunity to really degenerate as far as possible. And people that are coming in, like I've just mentioned, are severely in a degeneration to downward spiral. And so it's our job to spiral up, change the spin of the spiral, raise the energy, get the golden mean spin happening, because everything is really about the golden mean, and raise the charge of the person and the charge of the cell membrane, so that food and oxygen can go in, wastes and water can leave, oxygen and electrons can combine with some glucose and produce ATP and energy in the human. So it's all about energy, it's all about electrons, it's about oxygen, and it's about some nourishment, in the same way a plant will photosynthesize. That's what it's all about. And anything that disturbs it is a toxin, whether it's a GMO parasite, as I said, a heavy metal, insecticide, a fertilizer, uranium, plutonium. Okay, so we need to detox before we even begin to nourish. Because if we nourish before we detox, raise the charge of the body and the charge around the cell membrane, the food can't get in anyway. So we need to stage this. Okay, and also work with the capacity of each person, because some people are really flat. And you can't just supercharge them and overnight. You need to work with the capacity of the body. And we've got beautiful products to do that. And those of you that come in regularly also know about these products. And we can just be really grateful that we have the means to restore and reset and rejuvenate ourselves. Right, so that we can lead, if you like, in terms of thinking clearly and living productively, and help people through can be turmoil, it can be chaos. Most illnesses, most experiences, sad experiences, disturbing experiences are there for a reason, and we need to get into it and find out what the major shift is, what the gift is. If it never happened, we would never be in this situation. And understanding right now that humanity needs to surrender, needs to let go of those old patterns, because those old patterns are the old paradigm and they're not serving us anymore. So now we need to raise them, become conscious of them, and then work out the pattern, the repatterning. This is quantum, the repatterning that needs to happen. So it can often just be, look on the other side of the coin. So this happened, all right? I was a the oldest child of 5. I had to bring up my siblings. My mother was never there. She locked the house. She took the phone out because that's what she did. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, when my brother came in or whatever, or 7 o'clock at night when my brother fell and hurt himself and was bleeding, and I had to escape through the thin, small little bars of a window and go and find the neighbor to get hold of my father, to get hold of a doctor or get to the hospital. Why did that happen to this person? There was a fundamental reason. This person went on to form one of the first major new schooling systems, actually on the African continent. So can you see that by raising what happened and understanding it and understanding the wiring and the incidents and how it created her into the space where she was able to form the school would not have happened if she hadn't have experienced what she experienced. So we can look back on it, we can remember the incident, but not relive it. Surrender, let go of that pattern and let the repatterning happen properly. So we we must not resist the change right now. We need people like quantum therapists that can help us, number one, identify the emotions and the blockages, and then unravel it, leave it behind, and shift into the new space. And that is where the repatterning is. The repatterning of the DNA, the memory, the consciousness, emotions, spiritual, everything. And then you will find freedom and peace and joy. Another lady today, full of resentment, full of anger, not digesting her oils properly. As a result of that, the gallbladder is blocked, the liver's not metabolizing properly, it's blocked. She's 60 years old. She hasn't lived her life. She's a very intelligent woman, cut her career short, was told by her mom-in-law that women don't work and no woman in this family is going to work and degrade herself. Bought into the ancestral pattern. She's now sitting at the age of 60 with breast cancer. Resentful, angry, unfulfilled. Now that is your body telling you to shift. Change the pattern. Get the old pattern out, the inherited pattern of your mother or your mother-in-law, their mother-in-law, that whole lineage of pattern needs to now get wiped out, and we need to move into the new space. Why? Not only for ourselves, but for our children and our children's children. You see, this is why the DNA is so important, and it's got to be straight. So DNA must be a proper cross. It mustn't be up or down or distorted or piece on its own. The DNA must be in an absolutely perfect cross. Okay, and then it's going to be spinning properly and able to do what it needs to do without little pieces and snips and things. And we're going to talk a little bit later about bringing in the right building blocks to make sure we can rebuild and rebuild proper DNA and you know what it's constructed of. So this is very important. This is what's happening, and I think many of us are seeing the best and the worst of humanity. We're seeing a lot of resentment, a lot of greed, a lot of self-importance. Many things are getting triggered very quickly. People are getting triggered very quickly, and they're seeing mirror images in others that play out in themselves, if you know what I'm saying. So this is also quickening the shift, but it's also not making things always that pleasant. So if we're aware of this and we're able to step back and witness it, or witness ourselves and our own emotions, it's going to help a lot. And if we can release our emotions and be more objective, it's going to help us shift quicker too. Because emotion, remember, is going to release a chemical, a negative chemical that's going to impact upon our cells. It's going to create stress, release of adrenaline, cortisol, etc., hitting on the cells, damaging the immune system. One of the biggest risk concerns of humanity right now is the bone marrow. The bone marrow is responsible for white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets, beta cells, T cells, NKF cells, stem cells. a major responsibility of the bone marrow. So we need to help it, and we need to understand why it's not working. Most of it is stress. The hypothalamus is not instructing the kidney to release erythropoietin on a technical level to instruct the bone marrow what to do. So we have to constantly go back to looking at risk factors. So stress is huge. Fear is huge. What else did I write here? Carelessness of humanity, unawareness of humanity, rejection. Yeah, as I said, self-importance and, power. And it's really causing us to let those old walls come tumbling down. Now, this is irrespective of what's going on the political platform, on any of those sort of platforms. That's there anyway. We're working with a much bigger holistic space for humanity, and all the political stuff it'll all pan out. It'll work out. I don't think. Well, what we really need to be doing now, I think, is creating our new world. Okay, and that's going to help us reset the DNA, get the body alkaline, produce the stress hormones, and allow the body to function properly. We need to be saying, fine, this is given. What is that new reality that I'm looking for? What is this new world? What do I definitely don't want in the new world? What am I giving up? What am I surrendering? What hasn't worked? And what do I believe is going to work? And you set your course according to that. Right here and now, we need to be recreating the new civilization, the birthing of a new golden dawning civilization for ourselves. It's around the corner. And we need to start, as I say, creating it and living it. And being of that vibration. You see, so that we can shift and move and get into that space. So, that's what I think is most important. Let's talk just a little bit about the DNA. We've talked about it before a few times, but I just think that I want to focus on, preventing damage. And then really escalating it, because we have infinity possibilities. We just have to do it. We have to think it and do it. If you can dream it, you can do it. That's what they say, because that's moving potential energy into kinetic energy, into manifestation. So we want to be impactful. And as I say, manifest. Ideas are great, but we need to then bring that into proper manifestation. So we dream, we set what we want to do, and then we set our course to achieve what we believe would be the birthing of a new golden civilization for humanity. I hope what I'm saying is making good sense to you. So the unbelievable times that we're living in right now, it really is. And as I said in the beginning, to have the power of these quantum devices and the intelligence in a non-biased way, non-verbal. Who would have ever thought we would be able to put humanity onto a couple of devices, potentiate the effect, and restore balance? It might be hard to believe for you guys, but we're doing it. And the therapists that are in the group and that have worked with us will confirm. We've worked with individuals, we've worked with we've cities, towns, countries, farms, animals. So, we're working with something that's just really in real virtual time right now. And so we can manifest from there. Let's have a look at a couple of the slides that I did put together. I hope they're sitting here. Yes, they are. Okay, bear with me if you've seen some of these already, but it doesn't harm to rehear things. And we see things in a different light as well. So this is the the slide that I sent out in terms of what we're doing. So everyone's welcome, first of all. And I'm working with Desiree Dubonnet, Rita Nemenye, and global quantum therapists, raising humanity's immunity to COVID. And everyone's invited, as I said, and we basically want to stop people dying and repattern, get the new patterns coming through. All right, just remove all the old toxic patterns and toxins and shift. So thanks for coming. And by the way, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. South African time and every Saturday at 8 p.m. South African time, after Desiree Dubonnet's presentation at 7 p.m. South African time, 1 hour later, the quantum therapists we open our devices, and anyone who cares to join us, and we move through for 24 hours. Okay. So let's just have a look at the genetic material, the DNA. When I'm talking about it, it's an RNA, a single strand, a DNA, a double strand. We've got chromosomes, we've got genes, we've got telomeres. So at the end of the double strand, I'll show you just now, we have little shoelaces, and those are called the telomeres. And the billions of genes are all within the chromosome and within the DNA strand. And I'll show you some pictures about it. So we've got 12 basic strands of DNA. The sources of those strands are, well, there's all sorts of, realities regarding that. We know about the 12 strains of humanity. Maybe we got a strain from each one of those strains of humanity. 12 and 8 are very big numbers, just in terms of us now. So the 12 could be the 12 strains of humanity. The 8 and the 4 are the chromosome, right? So you get the 4 and then you get an 8. Right, the 8 is the double spin, the double helix spin. Okay, so when we're talking DNA, we're talking about 8. When we're talking about the strains, we're talking about 12. And we've all got a bit of it in us. So when we talk about humanity, if you're here in physical human form, we all have some common denominator, which originates in the morphogenic field. And yes, there may well be distortion, all right? But what we need to do now is restore the DNA, restore the plan on Earth, basically. All right, and sometimes we've got to watch the play. We've got to watch it play out and witness it. But we also must be the change, and not only in words, we need to live it. We need to manifest. And for each person, it's different. Our purpose is different. So that lady I was talking about, who's 60, who's gave up everything. All right. I said to her today, well, what's your passion? She says, well, I like reading. So I said, what do you read on? Oh, well, I'll read about cooking and things that I do. And so I said to her, okay, but what really, really excites you? She said, I have to think about it. She said, I've shut off, I've closed off. She said, I don't know. She said, I'm 60. So I said to her, well, many people are actually dying well over 100 years now. I said to her, you've got minimum of 40 years ahead of you. I said, I don't want to put a time limit on it, but I said to her, you've got a beautiful 4 decades or more to manifest, to be your unique you, so that one day when somebody reads your eulogy out, they read what you did, what you achieved. When you're on your deathbed, you're happy, you're contented to leave. You came and you did what you needed to do. You've left the planet with a higher vibrational DNA that you started with. That's got to be a golden, well, not really desire, but achievement. We can't leave the planet poorer than when we came. Well, I don't think so. I don't think that's the plan. Really don't. We need to evolve and shift. So we've got all these wonderful things to do this, and we need to just break certain people out of that shell and get into this great space that we have to manifest and be the best. So apart from quantum frequencies realigning the DNA, we do all 23 pairs and we do all the gene sequences, and it actually tells us which chromosomes are out, right? Almost Gold is a product I'm going to show you just now. It's an energy capacitor, and it allows the DNA strand to unwind and to wind up again. Very important in this day and age when there's X-rays, there's Wi-Fi, and the cells are dividing at a massive rate for problems, miscoding to happen. Very important also if we don't have the building block nuclear proteins and peptides such as uracil, guanine, adenine, cytosine, thymine. We need those building block proteins, so when the unwinding is happening and the winding up is happening, there's no spokes that are hanging. Everything is connected and into a perfect DNA. Then we've got perfect health. When there's SNPs, that's when disease happens. So food state quantum nutraceuticals, we have those. Sound will also restore the golden mean, the vibration of the cells, the sequencing, the right space that you're living. If you're living in a four-cornered, flat-ceilinged house, room, etc., that space will draw electrons off you. Okay, it's not going to feed you. If you're in a round house with a dome, that energy inside is going to feed you. Scalar wave, it's received through the pineal, and that's going to reorganize you, reorganize the golden mean and feed you. All right. So plaiting hair, any of those kind of creativity things, wearing jewelry, wearing materials with those kind of the human zygote, what we call paisley, is a very rich energy-filled design. Crosses, anything that looks like woven crosses, DNA strands in the jewelry and our materials, powerful. So be particular about what you wear and how you wear it. Be particular about what the clothing is made of, because linen, wool, silk are made of high vibrational substances. Plastic, polyester clothing is literally going to take your energy away. Plus, the microfibers are going to come through your skin and into your bloodstream, just so that you know that it's actually is a toxin. And doing things that are creative and being with creative people and fun people, it's sharing of energy. So this is the one I wanted to spend a bit of time on, because this is the unfoldment of the DNA and the unfoldment of the golden mean. And if this is spinning properly, we have very high vibrational spin, which is what we're aiming for. And this is what many factions on the planet right now are busy distorting all of this. So distorted DNA means distorted golden mean, means low vibration, poor vibration, positive, negative spin, left, right spin of the body. Okay. So it would start off this unfoldment. So Richard Templeton talks about this unfoldment of the golden mean and us living our purpose. So we could be anywhere along this golden mean right now. Here is where we get collective transformation, which is what I'm wanting us all to do, to work collectively, individually, collectively, to unfold and to get a collective transformation. And it's the 100 monkey syndrome. What I'm thinking, someone's thinking in New York, someone's thinking in Vancouver, someone's thinking in Italy, Mexico, Jakarta, Australia, India, Japan, China, New Zealand. Right, it's going to be. So collectively is easy. Undistorted, clear thinking. So there would be an epiphany. You would get some sort of wake-up call to say, hold on, you know what? Things need to shift. I need to shift. So some people will start exploring. Some people carry on seeking, and they can talk for hours about what's wrong, what's right, but not do anything physically. Okay, there are people stuck in potential energy. They haven't gone into kinetic. So people here that start thinking about what they're going to do on a daily basis, the shifting, the lifestyle changes, the dietary changes, the thought process changes. And here again, you can get in a convoluted circle here where the end becomes the means and it's not going anywhere. But we need to shift here where we actually start living the potential energy, living and walking our talk, being the authentic self. Number one, we have to get to our original, organic, authentic, true selves. Right here and now. It's not going back or forward in time. It's right here and now. What is our authentic self? Who are we? What are we needing to be doing and doing it? So it becomes practice, a daily thing that we're doing. And we're making those adjustments. Some people, again, it becomes all about them. And that's stuckness, all right? We need to move through I where it becomes to a we. What you're doing for we, what you're doing for humanity. All right. And it can be also groups. We getting together and doing this. We would like to, some people forget and they revert back to the we becomes me again. Other people start living very deeply. So they take this practice and they really, really, really embrace it. And they are the picture of authenticity. Authenticity is not fake. It's not where there's untruths. It's not immoral. Okay, it literally is authenticity in the true sense of the word. Okay, we start living this deeply, we've embraced it, and we're getting deeper and deeper. And as this golden mean unfolds, we're living our purpose, and we're bringing our purpose forth to humanity. And then we bring it to the community. Able to serve community, able then to collectively transform humanity. Right, so this is our goal. And you'll be anywhere along this. It's not a straight line. It's a curve. And, find out where you are there and you can make the necessary shift so that we end up here. And there is a cross right in the middle, which is the DNA. Absolutely amazing, fundamentally amazing. There is the perfect cross. Now you're going to look at material designs. You'll look at churches, temples, mosques, places of worship, and you will look everywhere. You will see the cross, the perfect cross, across the world. Okay, you will see it distorted as well. I've been into many, many churches in Russia in particular where these things were literally pulled off the walls, and the excuses were that the damp rose and everything peeled off the wall. Not true. These things were actually chiseled off. Never mind. It doesn't matter. This is what we're aiming for. Okay. And I really hope this makes sense. So just some more little bits of information. Our devices, we'll pick up all sorts of things on DNA, the telomeres, the enzymes for DNA, the nuclease enzymes as well. There is a nucleoprotein, a nucleopeptide, adenine. All right, there's one. You'll find there's cytosine. So there's 5 of them. You'll see the uracil. There's thymine. There's RNA. There's DNA. All right, so we're able to measure this, and we have products that bring in the building blocks. Here they all are. Here we can measure from adenosine to uracil, adenine, guanine. We can measure all of it. So grateful for this. We can look here. We can look at all the effects of degeneration on the genes. All right, genetic degeneration. We can measure it. We can see exactly, and we can track progress. So this is the spin. This is the golden mean spin. A golden spin downwards and another one coming upwards with the scalar wave. So you can imagine an apple in there with the vortex spiral coming down and out and up, and another one coming upwards clockwise and coming out this way. That's a scalar wave. It's round. It's not a linear wave that eventually peters out into nothing. A scalar wave is continuous. When we restore and we repair, and it also including lifestyle, getting on the ground, getting in the sun, breathing properly, it's a fixed shift. And that's what we're looking for, because we want humanity to go from illness to wellness. Not illness with symptom and symptom-free, proper illness to wellness. Okay, that is a whole well human being. And well, our human genome is that is the treasury of our human inheritance. But it doesn't mean to say that we need to hold on to it. We need to transform it and transmute the problem parts. Okay, the old thought thinking, the old patterns need to shift. And we just need to bring the building blocks in and practice on a daily basis. So every genetic illness, which is basically almost every illness, is a mismatch between an organism's genome and its environment. So we're bordering here on epigenetics. So when we come to Earth, we come in perfect, and then the distortion happens because we link in with our ancestral patterns and the environmental patterns. Then what we need to do throughout our lifetime is go along the golden mean and get to a point where we've transformed ourselves and we're able to transform community. Be authentic. This is fun. This is my favorite topic. It's my favorite space because it is the beginning and everything. It is our essence. It's our total essence. And, you know, the emotions and our feelings have not only stress with cortisol, adrenaline, toxins, etc. affect the DNA, so do our emotions. All right, so they're gonna distort the cross. And our feelings will distort it too. So negative feelings are going to impact on our advancement as human, whereas positive feelings are going to advance it. So at any one moment, that glass is half full or half empty, and you can check yourself. And if it's half empty for a small moment, that's okay. What lesson do I need to learn, and how can I then shift it into being half full and then fill it up? Okay, we replace it, replace it, and we repattern. Repatterning is what this is all about. Out of chaos comes repatterning. We shift up the paradigm curve. All right, so it's just here saying again that emotions are vibrational. So everything's vibrational, and that's with our quantum devices. There's a frequency for joy, love, hate, distress, resentment, too much power, too much self-importance. Check ourselves, because we're all being tested on an everyday basis, but the truth will prevail, and that's what we need to remember all the time. The truth needs to be spoken. The truth is the power. It's the real power, that truth, that essence. And many people who talk about healing and that, and me included, so long as the human race lies and is immoral and doesn't tell the truth, we will be sick because the vibration is so flat. Added to that toxins, environmental pollution, toxicity, etc., and we've got a downward spiral. Ancestral lineage. Okay, we thank our ancestors. We're grateful. But we need to cleanse those lines, and so that we're all standing together, strong, pillars of strength. Moving forward for our children and our children's children. It's absolutely essential to do this. All right, we've got to look after our genes, and this is just some research. I'm not going to go into it now. Professor Todd, who looked at certain genes. So what we do in quantum space is we're not reductionist, we're holistic. And we're moving with all sorts of things, emotions, neurological, physical, spiritual. And that's just on genetics as well. And we need to also understand what we eat affects what we think, and it affects what we do. Rudolf Steiner. So we must be very much in check. And I can share this with you as well. And there's quantum therapists listening in too. Toxins and parasites that come to actually supposedly help remove the toxins, the bacteria, fungi, and yeast. If we follow Beauchamp and Enderlin, I'm bringing this in now as well, where they say the beneficial bacteria, fungi, and yeast in our body will shapeshift into the aggressive form to go and help the body and the immunity fight unwanted toxins, including genetically modified parasites and all the rest of it. They do that. So how do they clear an oil slick? How do they clear a sewer? They throw beneficial, effective microorganisms down the sewer together with enzymes to the enzymes will help degrade, but the beneficial bacteria, fungi, and yeast will shapeshift into aggressive form that can eat up and eat away what's not needed. Same in our bodies. That's why we have to have beneficial probiotics, a strong form, because they become our weapons, if you like. They become our army. together with the white blood cells and NT, beta, NKF cells, etc., to go in and help cleanse the situation. So we need to work in that space and understand what's exactly happening and why we need them. And what I'm saying to you is the toxins and these parasites and these pneumonias and things that get distorted because the body's pH is acidic, the hydration is low, the amount of oxygen is low, will affect and manifest emotions in us. Right? Some people who have wheat wake up in the middle of the night with fear, stressed, unknown, don't even know what's happening. Some don't even know why they're fearful. Sometimes they do know why they're fearful. Sweating. It's because of the parasites. They can shift our emotions. We remove the parasites, we remove the toxins, we say goodbye to the anxiety, say goodbye to the depression. See, so we've got to be clean, pristine clean. Get into saunas if you can find saunas, infrared sauna even better. Exercise, detox, hydrate. Do your fasting, a 24-hour fast. Very good idea from time to time. And let our bodies automatically regenerate. Let the innate potential to heal take over. Okay, how are we doing? Tell the brain what to do. That's what we need to do. We can't let the brain tell us what to do. We need to feed. That's what I was saying. Create our new golden civilization. Tell the brain what to do. It will go and do it for you. Tell the brain you want to win the race. It will win it for you. Tell the brain you want to come third. You'll come third. Simple as that. You don't get a brain feel. You get a gut feel. You get a heart feel. Heartfelt. The brain is to be told what to do, right? And it works with the heart feeling. This brain, the Chinese talk about our gut being the second brain or the first brain, if you like. So thinking stressful thoughts is going to shorten our lifespan. It's going to do damage to the DNA. Change the positive spin to the negative spin, vice versa, the left to the right and vice. Put us really out of pattern. And the telomeres shorten, those little shoelaces, I'll show you what they look like, and that is a symptom of anti-aging. I'm going to show you our anti-aging box in a moment. Epigenetics, and this is the food, the drugs, the exposure, the hormones in the water. Those are the things that are shifting our DNA. So we are going to be affected by all this nonsense that's going on right now, whether we like it or not, because it doesn't come through, doesn't get blocked by a mask, okay? What do we have to do? We have to raise our immunity. We have to constantly be boosting our immune system and our DNA, right? Raising humanity's immunity to COVID and everything else that's going on. We have to constantly be doing this so that we don't get damaged. Our thought process doesn't get damaged. Constantly be detoxing out foreign proteins, foreign fragments, genetic fragments, chemicals, metals. Okay, we can do that. Humanity's had toxins thrown at it since time began. So it's not the first time. And also your own approach to stand up and say, I'm more powerful. I'm more powerful than any of this. Say it, affirm it, believe it. All right, and we're going into some genetic information and RNA information and so on, but effectively, we're talking about proteins. Okay, we need building block proteins, and we need the actual proteins to make DNA and RNA. So our ancestors ate a lot of organs, and there's a high concentration of adenine, guanine, etc. in the organs, but we don't eat organs anymore. You will get it in beans, to a lesser extent, things like fermented spreads, like we call a Marmite or a Barbarol or something like that. You will get the RNA and DNA proteins in there, but not significant amounts. So we need to actually consume them so that we can make a meaningful impact, focused on what we're meant to be doing, focused on what energizes us, be of service to the world, and to be inclusive as a humanity. So we need to detox what's toxic. That's simply what happens. And we're going to watch a lot of it happen. The road's going to be bumpy. It's not going to be as smooth, but it's okay, because if we're aware of what's happening, we can hold ourselves. We can ride the crest of the wave, most importantly. And that's what I've been trying to do in all my, I don't know. I think I must have done over 200 live webinars since end of March, right? Educating and sharing, encouraging feedback from all of you as well, so that we can hold the space going forward. It's terribly, terribly important right now. Because this is what happens, you see, the DNA gets tagged by toxins, methyl groups, all sorts of things, and we get the wrong cell division. So everybody thinks that the virus grows in us. That's not true. The wrongly encoded DNA fragment enters our cell, it slips in through the cell membrane. Why? Because it's made of human cell contents. Goes straight into the DNA, the wrongly coded ones, we start replicating the wrongly coded RNA and DNA automatically, indefinitely, on an ongoing basis. That is genetically modified manipulation. You can choose if you want it or if you don't want it. I know I don't want it, and I do what I can do every day. I'm going to show you the what we call the anti-aging, immune restoring box of products in a moment. Okay, very simple, very easy to get hold of. Here's basically the box of products. So let's go through it right now. So let me just come out of this, and then we can always come back here. Okay, terribly important, and I've spoken about this lots and lots of times. If anything that I've said you want to me to repeat, that's fine as well. And I see everyone's there. I see Dipty's there as well. And we can always invite you. If you want to speak, put your hand up and I will let you in, and we can share some more. Because every facet is important, right? So the physical facet is important. The mental brain aspect is important, the emotions are important, and the spiritual side is important. And everything's integrated and interrelated. And I've been working with Diptaben for the synergies between these four main aspects. And there's probably more, but it's where we are right now. They all need to be in alignment. So if you want to meditate and work in the spiritual space, we need to get those physical toxins out, emotional, mental toxins out, that we can reach a pure spiritual space and manifest there. Similarly, if you're coming from a spiritual space and you want to manifest yourself physically, we need to also make sure that spiritually we're living our purpose and we are the authentic self in a spiritual sense, so that we can then transmute. Right, so spiritually we detox from a transmutational point of view, an alchemical point of view, if you like. Similarly to things like Qigong and yoga, we will transmute thoughts, the DNA, into the true authentic form that it needs to be. So this sort of a wheel space, morphogenic space, if you like, is what we've been working on specifically, and we're seeing the interconnection and interrelationship. So one of the products that we really need to look at to do this that works is the Almost Gold, which is an alchemical product itself. All right, salt to gold, and it contains the platinum precious metal minerals. Platinum precious metal minerals in an M state form, a three-dimensional M state form. So it's gold, silver, copper, nickel, iridium, palladium, osmium, rhodium, not found in the soil really, not found in our food anymore. It's a life force that's found in spring water, in all of nature, which is in the quantum space. You find it in the quantum space. So we need to transmute ourselves spiritually, do physical detoxes, mental detoxes, etc., to create the space to raise our energy capacity, and we can use Almost Gold to help us. Okay, it's an energy capacitor which we consume on a daily basis, probably 2 teaspoons a day in water, and you will notice the difference. It's subtle but completely, totally noticeable. And it's going to, each day you take it, each year that you take it, you raise your capacitance, you raise your RNA, your DNA, and this is the product I talked about that allows the unwinding and the winding up. You will see the effects of Almost physically. You will see very strong teeth, bones, nails, for example. One example, you'll see an unbelievable glow on the skin. All right. So just some of the things. Now, what goes with this product and in this box? If you just see what I can show you here. Right. Let's just talk about this RNA DNA product. And I've got some slides. So when we get there, you will know. Right. It's got the 5 nuclear proteins in it. Uracil, which has got to do with RNA. And by the way, also the mRNA gets formed. And mRNA is critical also for the health of the body, the digestion of protein. So there's 2 major problems in the body, actually 3, but 2 major ones, digestion of oil and protein. Carbs we can deal with, but protein and oil are very big problems. And the mRNA will assist with the protein digestion, just to say. But when the DNA strands unwinding and winding up, we need to have the building blocks. Okay, so these 2 are critical. How do we get this? It's basically synthesized off a yeast. The yeast is washed off, and the purine and pyrimidines are remaining. Unaltered, unaffected, no matching, exactly as they occur in nature. Okay, this is critical because the body needs to assimilate things that are in the quantum spin that have not been fiddled with by humanity. All right. Same as all the food state products from 365 Healthy by Choice, as nature intended. Okay. And we've used even the microbiome reset, the liquid probiotic. It's filled with beneficial bacteria, fungi, and yeasts. We are 90% bacteria, fungi, and yeast. Our DNA, our genetic material is 90% bacteria, fungi, and yeast. So let's imprint properly. Let's use a product where there's 80 to 120 live strains. Why not? It's right here. And then when we need shape-shifting to occur, and then we need to get them into the aggressive form to quickly go and get rid of the wrongly coded protein, genetically modified fragment, it can do it as quickly as that. Okay, we won't go through a Herxheimer's reaction. We will not get flu. We will not destroy our organs. We will remain riding the crest of the wave all the time, reaching to higher horizons. Critical product in the anti-aging box, okay? So those are all working together, imprinting on the RNA, the DNA, etc. Let me see what else I want to talk about. Okay, fine. The Stress Defense Shield has got also building block proteins that are necessary for enzymes, for the immune system to function properly. We've got a cell oxygen and a supercell oxygen. What's the difference? Cell oxygen is actual oxygen, right? We need to raise the oxygen. It's attached to magnesium molecules which split off in the gut, and the oxygen crosses the intestine lining into the bloodstream immediately and gets carried by iron to the cell membrane, knocks on the door. Cell membrane, I want to come in. We've also got a liquid form of oxygen. This is pure oxygen, right? And then we've got a supercell oxygen which stimulates oxygen and activates oxygen. It's got things like pollen and cordyceps and lion's mane inside it that will, ginseng, that will activate oxygen within the body. So remember, we talked about electrons, we talked about oxygen, we talked about microbes. In the Stress Defense Shield, we've got 30 nutrients that all have long-chain sugars that, when there's enough oxygen, when the cell membrane is correct, will cross the cell membrane and get into the cell and assist us to effectively photosynthesize inside, create energy. Okay, and what we need for the cell membrane also is the flaxseed oil, because the flaxseed oil will create an electrical conductance across the cell membrane, a membrane potential, right, which you'll remember from physics. So flaxseed oil, absolutely important, absolutely critical. It has the highest electron spin, it has the highest life force of all the oils, provided it's cold pressed, no heat, no light, no air. This flaxseed oil is golden. It's almost orange. It's so pure. So, that's what I've put together for you. So there's one more hiding here. There's the stress defense shield. Okay, capsules, and we've also got a smoothie boost powder meal in one, which on a daily basis you're getting everything you need. So that really, is the anti-aging box that is going to preserve, enhance, and encourage growth and development of our DNA, along with our thoughts, what we told our brain to do, what we've allowed to happen, along with the emotions and the spiritual. So, I don't know if Dipta Ben wants to say anything specifically. She always has pearls of wisdom, but she's welcome to join. She just needs to put her hand up. And let's just see anything more on the slides that I wanted to show you before we end off. Right, so there's all the products. That's the Cell Vitality Oxy Minerals, and those are our liquid form of oxygen, sodium chloride. And then we've also got the Phyto C, which those antioxidants are in the stress defense shield as well. So I'm just going to let Dipti in, and while she's coming in, I'll carry on with the slides. Immunity, raising humanity's immunity to anything regarding COVID and some of these damaged things. So GMO, sun rays, lack of sleep, lack of phytonutrients, and all the products I talked about. Here's a DNA strand for people who didn't do lots of science or biology. Not a problem. These are the proteins I've been speaking about. They have to match, you see? And if there's no blue, if there's no cytosine, for example, that yellow protein will hang. And if there's not enough of that, it could be diabetes. It could be any disease. And if we are allowing the wrongly coded DNA fragments to enter our body, who knows what diseases are out there in the future once we've replicated these wrongly coded genes within our own body. We become factories of wrongly decoded DNA and RNA. We've become factories to produce pesticides because we ate the corn that had the wrong GMO molecule inside it, as example. We've already got them in us. It's not news. We need to detox, and give ourselves the best chance, and not distort our thoughts. There's the almost. These are all of the things that it does. This will be on the recording. You can stop the recording and you can have a look and see. Once we're working at a cellular level, every tissue of the body will get restored. So don't worry, if it's breast cancer or stomach tumor or fibromyalgia or nervous system condition or immunity, every cell gets regenerated, all sequentially in time. So almost gold was used by the ancients. It was used in the Black Plague, all right, to effect a harmonious state and bring the body back into harmony. Almost gold, research it, was used in the Black Plague. We have to be on almost gold. There's another product I didn't mention, and that's iodine. Iodine is critical. Iodine will ward off radiation. It will deflect it off you. So will almost gold, and so will zeolite. Activated volcanic rock dust, zeolite, paramagnetic. It also wards off radiation. And it will also scavenge and magnetically pull out the wrongly charged material in our body. Dipti, I know you're waiting. I won't be very long. Here's the RNA, DNA. I talked about this before. Nuclear protein building blocks, sugar and phosphatase. We've got to have all of these to function properly. Long chain sugars, they're not sweet. Reishi mushrooms, algae, pollens, chaga, spirulina. They're the protein bases, they're the sugars, the ribose, and there's the phosphatase. Deoxyribonucleic acid DNA, base pair. Have to. This is our DNA that forms the helix. Okay, I hope I'm making this graphic enough for you so you can actually understand exactly what happens. I don't want to go through all of this, but it's a bacterial cell wall fragment that's got these building blocks for us in the right coding, the right frequency. And we've also got a stem cell product, which has got the 5 top adult stem cell producing plants. Plant-based quantum. Food state as nature intended it. There's the stress defense shield with all these gorgeous things. You don't even have to have 30 bottles open in front of you. It's done for you. Potentiation, 1 + 1 is 3. 3 + 3 is 9. 30 + 30, you can work that out. That's a potentiation. So, that was what I wanted to share with you. We need to prevent damage on every level. We need to restore the charge of our bodies, restore the charge around the cell membrane, the electrical potential across with, like a flaxseed oil. The potential must be balanced. Food and oxygen into the cell, oxygen binding with the electrons and the glucose molecules, long chain sugars to produce ATP and energy for the body, rejuvenate, regenerate all the cells, waste and water leaving the cells. On a physical level, but this can happen through alchemical, spiritual transformation, transmutation. So I just want to bring Dipti in. I see you in, Dipti. I always love it, and thank you so much for honoring us. I know you've had certain experiences yourself, and you always listen and grow with us. What would you like to share, Dipti?
Thank you so much, Jane. It's always so lovely to be with you, and I learned so much.
We just can't hear you too well. Could you just get a bit closer to your mic, maybe?
Can you hear me better now?
Not so well.
Okay. I'm not sure why.
All right, we can hear faintly. We can hear it. Go ahead.
Okay. So I was just listening to what you were sharing, and I was thinking that how on 2 levels there's such a vibrational combination, as you are talking about it at the spiritual level, and we see at the physical level. So certain energies get activated as a physical level, and at the spiritual level, when there's a duplication of the vibration at the spiritual level, how much it enhances the physical. Is it a little clearer, Jane?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great. So as you were talking about building the inner blocks, and you were talking about building that immunity, and I was just thinking how inside of us, and as you said earlier on as well, about the power of our thoughts, and just feeling that my every thought that I create leaves a cellular memory in my body, because every thought that I am activating within myself is very deeply affecting my body. And so as we see how all these products, and I personally am such I'm so grateful to have introduced them into this body, because I feel this temple of this body of mine is an important vehicle for the expression of what needs to happen in the future and right now. And in order for that to vibrate at a certain level, it needs the right energies. So on a physical level, I really find the almost gold It's incredible what it has done for me. I take it so early in the morning before my morning meditation starts. And the first few times I could feel such a difference. And then I needed to understand what was beginning to happen. And then I realized it was really a capacitator in the journey. And then I realized together with that, if whilst I'm doing the meditation and I'm really creating thoughts of peace and I'm really connecting to the truth within my energy field, that truth and pure energy at that level responds to the vibration that's created by matter as well. And I think that is very, very important right now, because we realize that everything that has been put into our body in the form of matter is not just like on the one side, we are making the effort to detoxify that which is not right. But whatever is in my environment, whatever we've been exposed to, it's not just a particle, or I'm sure you'll have the right choice of word for that, Jane, but there's also a vibration attached to that, whether
Yeah.
it's anger, whether it's hatred, whatever it is, there's a vibration attached to whatever is physically created and manifested. And that vibration works incredibly powerfully. And therefore, even though we are changing something at the physical level, we have to nullify that vibration. And the only way in which we can nullify that vibration is we have to increase our own vibration. So last time, I think on Tuesday night, when I was listening to you and I was dealing with a few other cases around me, and I realized that the only method forward is really to make my truth so, so pure,
Mm.
to deepen that purity within myself at such a level so that vibrationally matter and vibration can understand each other. And I think that is a very important part of this journey, and where I'm discovering so much about how matter holds a certain vibration,
Mm.
because whoever's creating certain energies, there's a deep vibration behind it. And equally, when we are in the process of rejuvenating, we are in a process of healing, we have to vibrate at a higher frequency, much more, not just to overcome something, but to rise above it. And I'm finding this is really the need at the present time. And personally, I think with a group of individuals that we do this work every morning in our meditation, it's just really the feeling that we now really have to deepen that peace, deepen that love, deepen that level of joy. You know, joy is an incredible energy that's an immunity booster. We have to ask ourselves, you know, am I existing or am I living? And sometimes in our life's journey, we, without realizing, we go into survival mode. And so we start existing and we forget to live. And the vibrational energy of joy is such an incredibly high vibration. And this is what builds my immunity. I really have to ask myself, when last was I really happy? It's an important energy for my well being. Not just happy because something happened or someone came, but happy because it's my inner state of being. Joy is my inner state of being. And so I can't live a compromised life. I need to every day activate this potential in my being to say that I am a joyful being. Joyful energy is a very high vibrational energy. Love is an incredibly high vibrational energy. And not just the love that we talk about that's airy fairy, but really a love that is deep, a love that is so sustaining and nurturing, a love that is based on an energy of truth and purity, a love that gives you back your life. Yeah, these are such beautiful energies. And so when I'm so grateful to the universe and to God that I've been introduced to this journey with you, Jane, for this last year. And every time that I listened to this whole journey together, I've just realized there was a big block, a missing block that I've always knew that was missing. And as I'm beginning to work with you on this level, it's like the puzzle is coming for me together because we are human beings. So there's this human element and there's this being, but the two have to work very, very closely to each other. If the being doesn't understand the human energy, then it cannot do the energy flow. And if the human doesn't understand the being energy, there can't be a flow. And so we have to do this together at this time. And part of that process for it to develop so deeply is we need silence. I think today in the world, the vibration is very busy still. Even though we had a gift of a lockdown time where people so-called became less busy, but we need a different kind of energy. Sometimes we're not maybe physically that busy, but our minds are very, very busy. If I really want to rejuvenate my being, I need to allow my mind to be silent. A very, very beautiful, wholesome silence, the way I get up and the way I go to sleep. Those two times have to be very silent, even silent from your Wi-Fi. Very, very silent. Because that is when the real energies in my body resets itself. Silence allows the body to reset its energy. Silence allows the mind to reprogram its journey. So it's very beautiful, these two energies together. So isn't this lovely that our DNA, the DNA that Jane, you've been talking about so deeply, it has an authentic energy, and that authentic energy only comes alive when the real memory of either being comes alive. And that memory activates the memory in that physical DNA of the body. So the two memories, the memory of my authentic being, the more stronger that stays, it starts giving the right message to the DNA composition within my body. And if I'm not strong in the original authentic memory of myself, then it becomes very difficult, and then it can be decoded and uncoded and all kinds of things can happen. I don't know if that makes sense, Jane.
Sure, that is absolutely. I'm so pleased we've recorded this because it was magnificent what you've just synthesized and put forward. And look, I'm enjoying working with you, you know, as much as you are, and it's just a gift that we're able to piece this together like this. I don't know if any of this has been written, but I know you guys are doing a lot of work on your side as well. And honestly, at the end of the day, we are an electromagnetic energy. All right. So the DNA is an electromagnetic energy, and everything else around it is attracted. So you even look the way you do because of your electromagnetic energy. You think the way you do, and you spiritualize whatever you do because of this electromagnetic energy. This really sacred vibration. And you know what I like about what you're saying is that we can activate and re-energize our electromagnetic, our own little battery. We can make our battery operate at a higher frequency, both by being silent and introspective and consciously, like you've just said. Going to sleep, waking up in the morning at those various times in the day. We can do this spiritually, alchemically, and physically. And this total combination is it's just really creating this phenomenal electromagnetic field that we all are.
Yes.
And
I think about how some of the things and some of the products you say, take them first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. And I think, fine, great. Then I say to myself, okay, create the first thoughts in your mind on an empty mind that's just had a rest, because those are the times when the mind has just had the rest and it's woken up. Whatever thoughts you feed it at that time will have so much more of an effect on your mind if you are doing it without the impression of the day. So similarly, as we take certain products in the mornings on an empty stomach to have the full impact of it, similarly, we have to prepare our mind with such powerful thoughts early in the morning, because they have the highest impact when they are created before we've met the day.
Absolutely. And if you really are in tune with all of that, you can actually feel the electromagnetic shift. In other words, there's a time, also same as you, take the almost in the morning, 2 teaspoons in water, and there's at a point in time I actually feel the electromagnetic shift. I feel the subtle energy, like the waves coming through. And then when we do things like detox with the probiotics, but more importantly, when I make a stress differential smoothie with the coconut oil and the berries and things, I get a further electromagnetic shift that I feel. And there's another thing that does it for me, and that is the when you blend the no-fat cottage cheese or kefir with the flaxseed oil, and we make the flaxseed oil water soluble, right? Remember what I said, flaxseed oil's got the highest electron spin, the highest life force. So when we make it miscible with water, miscible with the blood, you get an enormous release of oxygen. And that I can literally feel my electromagnetic field shifting on the mental level, spiritual level, that whole level. I can literally feel that shift, and oxygen will do the same thing. So I think we've got it taped, everybody. If I'm missing something, it's because I personally haven't got to that space yet, but we're busy putting it together, and hopefully creating physical, spiritual, emotional, mental space for us to go forth in the world. And Dipti, just on if you could say a few words about creating, consciously creating the future for humanity. This, I suppose, you do is when you're quiet in the morning or evening, or what can you say to guide us a bit about creating the future space that we want, the new patterning of the future?
I think one of the things that I always find very valuable is that sometimes we are living in this present moment with many energies that we are surrounded by. And sometimes we want to make progress from this space to create our future. And that is like a linear journey. And we can also go into this energy of the future by what is called an accelerated journey. And then that accelerated journey is like the kind of things what you and I are doing together, because the kind of physical compositions you have created is creating an accelerated energy field. There's a lot of things out there that are symptomatically given as medicine. So it's just usually there to take care of the symptoms. But what we are working with as a product is to systematically accelerate a well-being. Similarly, on a spiritual level, today in the world, people say, okay, I get angry all right, now I mustn't get angry. Okay, I'm this, I mustn't do this. And the journey is not about what I must do and what I am doing now, but it's about understanding purpose, and it's about understanding what is pulling me towards my future. I'm not pushed towards my future, I'm being pulled to my future, because my future is my it's like the future is waiting for me. The world is waiting for high frequency energy, and that is part of our journey already. So it's like, for me, when I think about the future and how to work towards this future, it's really about creating high states of consciousness. Not we need now not just transitional shifts in our life, but we need transformational shifts to reach that future. And the transitional shift is where I'm doing repair work. And this is not right, so I put this right. But transformational shift, which is the kind of things I see with the products and with the conscious state of work that I'm doing, this kind of transformational change pulls our future to us very, very powerfully. So our way forward to the future is recognize your purpose, recognize the method to reach that purpose. We're not just now going to a process of not doing things, but rather in the process of saying, what am I doing now that's at a far more higher frequency that would dissolve the limitations and barriers of the present moment. So I think the future that is pulling us is beckoning us to bring about transformational change. Transition change no longer works. Let the purpose pull us. Let the reality of who we are pull us. Because we are awakened states of consciousness beings, and we need to rise to the occasion now. There's no other time. It's now.
That's amazing. So that's where we then become interdimensional beings almost as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With accelerated vibrational state, we're in that dimension, a slightly different vibrational state, we're in that dimension. So we're coming in and out of that all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
you see,
amazing.
the world is still operating somehow in its recovery process with a very linear energy field. And we're not linear beings. We're not. We are beings that are much, much more bigger in who we are, in our vibrational energy, in our journey through time. We are eternal beings. We are souls. So if we are much more bigger than just the physical dimension, we have to operate from that space.
So we need to
thoughts
feel,
to ponder on.
yeah, we need to feed this being on a cross section. We have to feed it on all sorts of levels.
Yes.
And that's the kind of consciousness that we need to bring in. I think as we unfold with our purpose, and anyone who's battling with their purpose, just find your passion. Your passion will lead you to your purpose, and then we constantly feed ourselves these electrons with all the different spins, a cross section, whether it's sound, whether it's a book you read, whether it's people that you're with, the gathering, spatial space, food state, nutrient, etc. And I mean, I think that kind of consciousness, and with the affirmation of being authentic, that's going to really keep the purity and the truth you're speaking about, hey?
Yes. And, we're not perfect yet. So at times we do reach a lower frequency. But, make sure that the gaps to bounce back is much more quicker. because we're not going to be perfect all the time. We are living in this world and we are still touched by this world. So things do affect us now and again. But I say to myself, the integrity of my journey forward is I bounce back quicker each time so that the
Yeah.
residue of that doesn't stay for too long.
Yeah, that's what I liked about what you started with, and when you talked about every vibration has a memory in us.
Yes,
It's a stored memory, every vibration. Hey,
yes, yes.
and then like what you were saying is that the spiritualization of ourselves, which is matter, and we can bring it out about through transformation by being joyful and easily much easier with consciousness too, and that happens on an alchemical level.
Yes.
Mm.
And sometimes to use like music, I find
Mm.
sometimes in the evenings, even if I've had a very, very difficult day emotionally, dealing with many low frequency energies of people, I find in the evenings I just like create a beautiful ambiance and I play the most beautiful music which the soul and body understands.
Mm.
It's incredible what it
Mm.
does.
Well,
We have
yeah.
so many resources that can really work on us, you know. So
Mm.
sometimes I'm sharing that because sometimes people can't just use their mind to become silent because it does require practice. But, use music, use nature. I mean,
Mm.
last night I was just standing outside for a long time and I was just looking at the sky
Yeah.
and the security opposite wondered if I was okay. And I said to him, "Isn't it a beautiful sky?" And he said, "Yes, but what are you looking at?" And I said, "I'm enjoying the sky." But it's so important. These things are natural. They are in our surroundings. But sometimes we're just too busy. And it's not, we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to ourselves. If I can't create the silent state of mind or stillness of my being just through a mental state, then allow nature to support you. Allow music to support you. You know, so many things there are around that you can use to support your journey.
And create that communication link between yourself and the universe, because that's where the answers are. I think we're very quick to pick up the phone and phone a friend and try do,
Yes,
and actually the answers are all there. And so I suppose it's a question of raising our vibration so that that channel is more and more and more open. And that's what the wise people did with the almost gold. They the frequency of it opened up the channel so they could get hold of universal wisdom. So yeah, I mean, the teachings are here, the products are here. You're a living example. And I don't know if anyone's got any questions. I've found what you've had to say, Dipti, is unbelievable, and I'm so grateful always for your time and honored to have you come in and share with us on this level. It's just amazing as we birth our new civilization, and each one has got that energetic pathway to assist the whole of humanity getting there.
yeah.
It's
No,
incredible.
thank you. I think for myself, it was like a very important, big missing piece of my puzzle. I
Mm.
knew that there was more to this journey, and I sometimes tried to find the answers in the physical, but yeah, it didn't talk to me in the way that I needed to hear it.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
it was like when I had to suddenly life gave me the biggest test ever for the very first time in my life ever in a hospital, and I realized, oh, okay, that I began to find out that missing piece of the puzzle. It was incredible. It was the best gift in my life. It's amazing.
That's amazing. It
Yeah.
is amazing, yeah. And all credit to you. Well, we're going to be having more and more and more of these, and anybody else that would like to comment as well in the future and share, and in particular share the gift of illness, as you just alluded to, Dipti, because often a setback is a catalyst to project us, in a quantum leap to a higher level as well. And it causes us to stop and be introspective and regain and reshift and get rid of the chaos and let the new patterns emerge again. So these are just things we've got to constantly work on. When the world's in chaos, it's in chaos because humanity is shifting.
Yes.
And make sure you're safe, make sure you're protected, and your thoughts are guided, and the whole time that we are actually these electromagnetic beings on a mission, to get closer to our authentic, original, true selves. Hey.
Yes. Great.
So exciting and so motivating, and well, Dipti's available, I'm available, and let's really just with also laser beam energy move forward and just shift the consciousness, because we can. Infinite.
Those are very
infinity.
powerful words, laser beam energy. Thank you for sharing that.
Pleasure.
Lovely choice of words. Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Dipti, and thank you, everybody. And an honor to have you with us, and an honor to be able to record, Dipti, your words of wisdom, and may they reach all the corners of the globe. Thank you for your divine work that you're doing too. See.
No, thank you. Thank you for. I think we are all in this together at this time. And it's a very, very, we are an amazing time in human history. Amazing time. But we have to rise to the occasion.
We do. And, talks like this, help all of us. It boosts all of us, keeps us all, centered, I think. So I think until next week, we'll examine these things a little bit further, and give us some suggestions too. And Saturday we'll have a watershed presentation by Professor Dubonnet. That's all I can say, because those are just pearls of wisdom too. And we'll do another boost for humanity. And let's just keep the ball rolling. Lovely, 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 lovely stuff. If anyone wants any products on my website, I nearly forgot completely. There's a 7% discount on any products. So you just type in there, I'm going to put it here, 365-7. That is the promotional code. So when you check out, it'll ask you for a code. You put that code in and you'll get 7% off anything that you buy. And I thought that's just to keep us moving and keep the momentum going future too. So there's that. And have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'm so inspired. Thanks everyone again. It's a real honor to have you with us. Okay. Goodbye. Ciao, Dipti. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.